tool called the Getting to Know You experience. I'm going to basically be presenting a little bit what we do live at our events. It's much funner when you're there. We've had this event up to 60 people um, in the Bay Area. Um, Many more events around 20 to 30 people, and some for as little as 4 people all the way up to 12 people. This game is done very well with just 2 people. It's originally designed for singles, but new couples and even couples that's been married for decades can actually learn things from each other. These are questions that you should know. These are questions that you should ask. But if you just came out and asked 200 questions, they would be like, damn, what is this, an interrogation? So this is a fun way to get to know somebody, as literally as the name of the game says. It's the game that's not a game. It's called the Getting to Know You experience, and that's exactly what it is. So we're gonna go through the intro right now, the Getting to Know You experience. This is the ebook version available at qualified the number 2love .org, or you can get it directly at payhip, PAYHIP / qualified the number 2love, payhip.com / qualified to love. All right, so welcome to the Getting to Know You experience. Welcome to the Getting to Know You experience and Qualifies to Love bonus tool. The Getting to Know You experience is one tool that is a relaxed, fun way to get to know a person you are trying to gain a sense of compatibility and insights on. It can be also played with a group of people to gain a general sense of how women and men are different and alike in their needs, wants, and desires, and the demands of relationships. The only rule of this game is to be honest. Also, take care of yourself emotionally by answering only the questions you feel comfortable answering. It is advised when playing this with a group or just two that you make sure you're sharing in a safe space. Agree that it is shared in the Getting to Know You experience or bonus tools that it stays private. This is necessary for openness and openness and honesty. Of course, anyone can be dishonest, deceptive. However, this puts you on record and holds you accountable to what you have claimed. It is best to be honest and have people accept, reject, or judge, or be open to who you really are. Then you can play, then to play being dishonest and deceptive. The purpose of this game is to find out what you really think about a number of relationship related questions. So when you get a sense of whether so you can get a sense of whether we are right for each other in multiple levels of physical, mental, and spiritual compatibility. If you are ready and to be real and vulnerable, then continue to play. Forgive my stumbling over these words. It's a lot. Thank you for choosing this event. It's asked that you be open, honest, and real, at the same time being tactful and respectful to all the participants of the game. In order for us to deal with all the male-female relationship issues, this game will be covering some very personal subject matter. Indeed, it's your right to refuse any question that this game may ask. Share this game in a safe environment that you feel you can reflect and grow in. With that being said, above all, take care of yourself and your emotions. In this experience, you will not only get to know all the other participants, you will also get to know more about yourself. The purpose of this experiment is to gain understanding with each other by sharing and gaining harmony by the connection and knowledge instead of assumptions. We also give some food for thought, and that is meant to nourish the mind and heart. We operate on the take the meat and spit out the bone philosophy. For you vegans, it could be eat the fruit and spit out the seeds philosophy. So if you do not agree with a tip, suggestion, or any other participant, respectfully agree to disagree. All right. So let's continue. These are the different types of components of the game. The getting to know you is like putting together a puzzle. As you slowly put together the puzzle, you start to see an image in the sum of the person. Sometimes you put a few pieces together and think you see one thing, but in reality, there's something else is true. We cannot judge too quickly, for often things are not as they seem, and you can use this tool to gain pieces of the puzzle, but wisdom in putting the puzzles. But this tool is to gain pieces of the puzzle, but use wisdom in putting the pieces together. Ooh, that's a tongue twister. I will answer the questions as I am, not as I want others to see. So don't front. Just be real when you're playing this game with a group of people, or just one on one with somebody. All right. So this is part of the introduction explaining that why it's so difficult to find compatibility. So never in the history have we had so many differences in our political, social, cultural, moral, or sexual makeup. We have diversity in our own race and black community. Without judging these differences, it may sometimes pose some serious compatibility issues. So you have spiritual issues of fundamentalist Christians, traditional Muslims, African-centered spiritual practices, and countless other. Like even in the Christian faith and the Muslim faith, there's different sects of those, and they believe different things. So you have spiritual difference that you have to be compatible or at least respectful to somebody's beliefs about, because they are not exactly where you are. Even if you go to the same church in the same denomination or whatever, it still can be differences of opinion about that. Now, then we have different political views. We have different cultural views. We have different activity or social types or levels. So political views, what if this person is an avid Trump, supporter, and you are a stone liberal? And what if they don't like, they have strongly against LGBT, and you think that they should have all kind of rights and privileges and so on and so forth, and you don't mind if your kids are, and they are just, oh, if my son is, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So that's different political views. And cultural views kind of similar. Maybe they were raised in the South, or maybe they was raised even in Africa or the Caribbean or something, and they have different cultural views. Or even in the same city, there's the people are different race, different people. You have your own family type of cultural thing that you are going through. So then we have different social activity types and levels. So you have some people that are homebodies, and some people who are the life of the party, want to go out almost every night. They just want to be where the action is. And then maybe the person they're interested in is a homebody. They don't really ever want to go out. They'll go out with you to accommodate you sometime, but that's not really their thing. You know what I mean? Nah, I'm saying. So then we continue. So then we have different types of relationship needs and desires. So some people want a committed, not monogamous relationship. This is primarily what Qualified to Love is formed for. We believe that the way to rebuild our communities and our race is in the foundation of a committed monogamous relationship. If there's a healthy male-female relationship, then that's going to be a healthy family and healthy community and healthy race. When we were in segregation, we had the most successful marriage ratios. Our communities were strong and they were not divided. Now that we have this so-called freedom and this integration and so on and so forth, which we should have. We have the rights to go anywhere we want to, shop anywhere we want to, and so on and so forth. But we should also have kept our foundation, our cultural foundations intact. So that's my belief. So maybe somebody I would be talking to may not believe that as strong. So that's another compatibility issues. So you have committed monogamous relationships. You have people who want just casual, intimate relationships, just like, let's just Netflix and chill. Is that what you want to do? That's might be what they want to do. They don't want anything deeper than that, and they let you know, and then you catch feelings, and you know, you get caught up. The next thing you know, you're in a situationship, or even not even that deep. Then you have people that just want a platonic relationship. They don't even want to no intimacy or whatever. They just want a friend. So you might be hanging on, thinking, okay, after they get to know me, I'm gonna make them love me. They're gonna, fall for me, and really, they told you they just want a platonic relationship. So all of these other compatibility issues, you also have to find out what kind of relationship that you want: committed monogamous relationship, a casual intimate relationship, a platonic relationships, and other various types. Some people are into polyamory and all this other type of stuff. So you got to get to know what this person's expectations of you. So with all these potential differences, it's a minor miracle that any one of us can have an effective relationship, no matter what the form or type we want or desire. This game, that's not a game, was created to give you a better chance at finding what you want and desire. A better match protects you and those you encounter. African proverb is, may God protect us from if I had only known. So here's a different type of questions that we have here in the getting to know you experience. This is the different components. These are two examples of screens that will come up. So when you see these types of screens, the host will point to a participant where you're gonna just do it. If you're playing by yourself or somebody home, you could ask them a question. If you watch a replay of this film, you could just pause the video, because I'm gonna be moving along because there's a lot of questions. So just be real, pledge. So let me see what this says. So they're just gonna ask this question, and then you're gonna answer the question. So that's a straight up question. So this is one of a different type of, when you see these type of questions, it's a showdown statement. So if you agree with the statement that is being read, you put your thumb up. If you disagree, you put your thumb down. If you're on the fence about it, you don't feel strongly either way, then you could put your hand out like level, and that means you're just on the fence about it. So that's that type of screen. And then we have Dr. Deja Moore, which is a fictional counselor, but she reflects on some of the questions that are going to be presented in the game, and then you can take that advice, like we said, take the meat and spit out the bone. It's usually pretty wise advice about something that just may have been one of the questions. Okay, then another component is, if that were so. This is where you get your Denzel and your Angela Bassett on. So in a real game at an event, we would ask these people, we would read this scenario, and then the people would take over as if they were really living this scenario. So so you'll see those as they come up. I'm going to read a scenario, and then you're going to act out or imagine, if you're not playing with somebody, how you would act if this actual scenario was going on. Okay. All right. So, okay, are you ready to play? Let's get started. So some of these questions may seem like trivial questions, but it actually can get real deep depending on the person's answer and depending on how you feel about it. So let's get started with some of the easy questions. How important is fashion and style to you in a potential mate? So I'm going to reflect a little bit on this. So say you're a real jazzy person who likes to dress, and the person that's interested in you, they kind of like, dress real dumpy, real casual. And say that if they're they got flip flops on. You like to go out and dresses with sequin dresses and dress up and go out to go out on the town and whatnot. And they just like, I'm not feeling that type of thing, or vice versa. They want to be, the guy want to be in a Stacey Adams in his suit, and then you in a sweatsuit. You don't want to dress up and you don't want to do that, or or let's say we're not even going out. We're just even around the house. Like I used to date somebody who, as soon as they got home, they would dress like this fantastic person outside. Makeup, hair, clothes, everything just done. As soon as they walked through the door, I tell you, it was like Transformers. And then take off the fake hair, put on a bonnet, take off the makeup, put on the granny robe, just all sex appeal just lost. And I know you're supposed to relax in your own house sometime, but goodness gracious. All right, so let me move on. I digress. Complete the following statement. On the first date, I expect to at least. So if you're playing this game with somebody, they would say. So my answer could possibly be, I expect to get to know you. I just expect to ask some basic questions and get to know what's going on with you. What's the general like? What's your government name? Where you live? Where you work at? Where you eat? What you like to do with your time? And some basic stuff. We're not getting too deep on the first one, but we might delve into some questions. Now, if we bring the getting to know you experience, which you could do on your phone in the PDF version, we might get into some serious stuff, and we might find out that first date we don't have to waste our time, that we're not compatible. So but a dude might say, or female these days, on the first date, I expect to get them draws, and you could know right off, like, you might not be the one for me, or maybe you freaky like that, and you might be okay with that. So, do you seek attention from the opposite sex? So this is one you got to just be asked your question. Even these women that dress up and they taking a selfie on Facebook every day, multiple ones a week. They're saying that they might say no to this, but they just might be doing it for themselves. Who knows? Got to be honest with yourself. Got to be honest with your potential partner or your partner. So some men, just to be stereotyping. So if you are dressing, I guess this is an example of a question that's like really shallow, but it could be deep, right? So if you want dressing a certain way, your boobs are hanging out, you got V's on, and you and the girls, if you know what I mean, the girls are popping all out, and the waist is quenching, the booty popping, and you got on high heels, and you just, you look like you want some attention, at least to the average male. Men feel different ways about that. Some were very liberal, like, I think she should be able to express herself however she want to dress, and I'm not going to try to regulate her. But then some other men might feel some type of way, like, damn, who are you trying to attract? You already got me, blah, blah, blah. Or if you in religious, you might not feel that that's for the streets. I want you to be, conservative a little bit. You could still be sexy. You could still be feminine. You could still be all of that, but just don't, dress a certain way. So this possibly subject could come up with this question. Okay, here's one of the things, the showdown questions. So I'm going to read the statement. If you agree, you put your finger up, your thumbs up. If you disagree, you put your thumbs down. And if you're on the fence, you hold your hand out like level. So I'm starting to wonder if harmonious relationships between a man and a woman is even possible. Do you agree with that statement? Is that thought that you would have, or do you disagree? No, you still believe. You keep hope alive. Do you believe that it's possible for a man and a woman to have a harmonious relationship, even though every relationship you had does not go right? I don't know. Or you're on the fence about it. You don't feel strong any other way. So this is one of the showdowns questions. All right, next questions. You can always pause this to discuss it if you're actually looking at the replay of this with somebody. That's what you want to do. You want to, is this going forward? I'm trying to look at the YouTube and see if it's continuing. I don't know. I'm going to continue anyway. So, do you consider yourself a lady or a gentleman, and why or why not? Now, this begs the question: what is your definition of a lady or a gentleman? I mean, for a gentleman, in my generation, we were taught to open the doors for ladies. We take you out somewhere, have you sit in the car until we come around. We open the door, then we go into the restaurant. You, we open the door of the restaurant to you for you, and a lady would usually wait until we open the door. And when walking down the street, these are old traditional rules, by the way. You might not want to, you know, go by them anymore. When we're walking down the street, the man is to walk on the outside of the curb, on the curb side. And this was put into place back when the streets were not safe. He was basically you're in a form of protection from a car coming or a splash from puddle or something like that. I believe that's what they say the history is. But it's just some protocol to show respect, and every culture has that. It might be something that looks silly to you, but it's basically saying a, a, a level of respect by just following this protocol. And so a lady might be, in a traditional sense, you know, she cross her legs when she sit down. She don't sit down like she a dude in the NBA. Um, she doesn't chew smack with her mouth open. She don't act like, some New York, you know what I mean? Dead ass, do you know what I'm trying to say, tomboy or whatever. She acts like a lady. She's got manners and she's polite. And if she disagrees with you, she's not going off and raising her voice and shaking her head and so on and so forth. So this is what some perception of a lady or a gentleman might be to the other person. So part of this question, you might want to even ask, what do you consider a lady or a gentleman before you can even answer the question. So let's continue. In one sentence, say why you believe you are worthy of a good man or a good woman. So people often answer this question because they believe that they are a good man or a good woman. But why? What is a good man and what a good woman? How would you describe the characteristics of a good man, a good woman? Because you see a lot of people like all these men out here, all these women out here. And what's your expectations on what a good man is or what a good woman is? You first have to define that before you can even find it, and then you can aspire to be that yourself. So that's something you can discuss. Here we have another showdown statement. If you agree, put your thumb up. If you disagree, put your thumb down. Black men need to stop using racism as an excuse for not being responsible. All right, so if you agree, put your thumb up. If you disagree, put your thumb down. And if you on the fence, you put your hand straight. So you can agree, but then have some, like I agree with this statement, but I understand the ramifications that, they just didn't wake up in the morning and decide racism is not affecting us, and it didn't have any effect on whether we succeed or whether we're in jail or whether we have a good career or not. So I understand all of the implications that go along with this. And so I would definitely have to pontificate and elaborate on why I put my answer the way I put it. Okay, this is kind of a deep question, even though it doesn't seem like it to some. Historically, skin complexion has played part in both our attraction and prejudice of the complexion types in our own race. Do you have a complexion preference in a mate? Do you like light-skinned people like me? Do you like chocolate sisters like I used to? I just want a chocolate sister. And I still do like chocolate sisters. In my older years, I'm more attracted to features more than just straight up complexion. But it usually seems to be the opposite. Like if you're light, you're attracted to dark skinned people, and if you're dark, you want a light skinned person. Unless you over that, you over the brainwashing, and then you have backlash and you go hard the other way, like you know what I'm saying. So it depends on where you are in your growth and your perspective. Um, a lot of times I would date a dark skinned person, brown, and they was like, you know, I'm not usually attracted to light skinned people, but then they want me. So go figure. All right. So here's Dr. Deja Moore, and she's chiming in on it. Having any kind of physical preference is not necessarily a bad thing. However, on the issue of skin complexion, black people especially should look inward to see what is the root of the preference. For some mixed blood brothers like Frederick Douglass and Malcolm X, to the blue blood brothers like Marcus Garvey and Khalid Muhammad, we are all black with the same challenges, obstacles, gifts, and blessings. Never let complexion divide and conquer us. So I think that's some wise advice from the fictional Dr. Deja Moore, which is, by the way, my two oldest daughters' names. Deja the oldest, Amora the middle, and I have a younger one, Jamora. But at the time I made this game, she wasn't even born. This game been out a long time. So thank you. If you think I'm copying it from somebody else, it's been out for at least 20 years, and I've been playing it publicly for at least that long. So, I ain't be copying nobody. They copying me, Ace Metaphor, and all them other people. Here we go. Who's that, brother? Jared Jacks. Anywho, do you believe in astrology? If yes, what's your sign? So I got to speak on this a little bit. I met this girl on, I think it was Facebook dating or whatever they call that. And I really thought she was cute. I really was attracted to her, and I really liked her personality. She asked me my sign. She was deeply into that. And I said, I'm a Cancer, and she's a Aries, and she just, oh no, we can't get along, yada, 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 yada. And I'm like, wow. So my philosophy is on that, there may be some truth to the predispositions of people personalities because they are born under a certain astrological sign. For the people who are deeper into that, they know about the rising and ascending and the this and that, and your moon is in Mercury and da-da-da, and this is in Venus and so on and so forth. And then that has additional ramifications. So with this, I would say that if our goal is to be have emotional intelligence and growth and to be whole and to be the most complete person that we can be, then we will accentuate our positive traits. Like if you're a Virgo, you're supposed to be goal oriented, so on and so forth. If you're a Cancer, you're supposed to be sensitive. And then if so-called negative traits, we will grow to understand them, and then we will grow to conquer them. We will understand that they might be a tendency, but we will be the best person we can be, and the tendencies won't be that. And I really do think that some people, it's kind of like a self-fulfilled prophecy. If they know what sign they are, or you are, then they look for, if you're being seemingly sensitive and you're a Cancer, they're going to say, see, that's that Cancer. But they act more sensitive to you than you about some other things. But it's not because they not a Cancer. It's just, it kind of gets ridiculous sometimes. But you believe what you believe. But I believe we can conquer any kind of incompatibility for this. But for some people, this is some real deal stuff, right, y'all? And they won't even date. Oh, my mama used to say, oh, I ain't gonna date no Scorpio. She was a Cancer woman too. Cancer women, Cancer men seem to be totally different to me, but that's just my observation. I don't know. All right, let's move on. Would you date someone older than you? If yes, then how much older? So I think this kind of changes as you get older, like the age range. Like, so if you if you 18, you don't want to date nobody maybe 35, 40, 45, unless you love their established thing and their resources, and maybe, depending on what your motivation is. But when you get past 25, 30, then I think the age goes, you can widen. And then I think if you're older, you don't probably want to date anybody too young because of cultural differences and like relatability and so on and so forth. But ultimately, you got some old fools, some so old immature people, and you got some young people who are really mature and really advanced. So I think it should be more compatibility. Um, Now, if you don't want to hear my commentary on this, you can mute me and just have this conversation yourself, or you could just really be better off. Just go buy the game at payhip.com/qualified to love. The number 2, qualified to love, and then you get it for yourself. Okay, here's one of those things where you get your Denzel and your Angela Bassett on. So this is a question, it's a scenario called If That Was So. Act if this is really, act as you really would under these circumstances. You two are on a first date at a nice restaurant. The date is going well. However, both of you notice a man making subtle and obvious passes at the female on the date. After some time, the waiter comes over and hands the female on the date a note that reads, you would rather be with me. You just don't know it yet. Call me, Reggie, 510-555-1234. So you sitting there with your girl, if you're a dude, and some dude, just random dude, just comes over and hands your girl, don't even acknowledge you or nothing, hands your girl, or this person you're on a date with, I don't know what date. You always said first date, excuse me. So handed you on the first date. And then, so what would you do? Would you ask her? What does that say? If you're the woman, how would you feel? Would you think it's funny and you would read to him, or would you just not disclose it because you think like, I don't need no drama, we just starting or whatever? So if you're playing this game, you just boom, stop, and then you take over as if you're the guy and you're the girl on the date, and then you just act it out like it really happened. So that can be fun. These scenarios can we see your acting skills, but you're acting as if you really would. You're not trying to play another character. You're playing your own self character. All right, moving on. Briefly name one incident where a past mate gave you the blues. So you know how on the first date, most people, they kind of like talk about their past. No, not necessarily on the first date, but if new in the relationship, they tell you how terrible they mate was and what they did, and they cheated, and they did this and they did that, and it sounded like they didn't have any part in it. Some people will be honest. It's like, yeah, I messed up. I did this. I did that. And that's kind of rare if you get that. So this is kind of, I don't know. You can answer this question honestly, but try not to be a victim. Try to take responsibility for your part in how they gave you the blues. Maybe they just straight up lied to you, and you feel like you didn't deserve that. Of course, nobody deserves to be lied to, but you were honest with them, and they just, they just lying to you just to get what they want, right? Because that's why people lie. Name the most romantic thing you have done in a relationship. So you can look back and this may speak to the character that you have as in romance, or lack of, or it may not be, something that you would do in the future. Because just because you bought roses every week for an ex, no mean you're going to do it for the new one. Or maybe you just did it for a short time, or maybe on Valentine's Day or whatever. So, yeah, this is just a conversation piece. All of these are really conversations so you can get to know somebody. And even the person that's trying to be a little deceptive, if you really listen and if you got any kind of intuition, it's little things or hints will come out and stuff. And then I said, even if they are not truthful, you have something to keep them accountable for. You know what I mean? Because they didn't you say blah, 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 blah? Got you. Anywho, let's move on. Is there anything that is not average about you or your approach in a relationship? So yeah, so we live in an age where people are definitely not a monolith. There's so many different varieties and so on and so forth. So is there any way, this is kind of a vague question, but for some reason they're really people, they kind of know what this question means, and they're like, yeah, I'm different because I do this and I want that, or so on. So that's that question. So here's one of the examples of a free question. Might not have the questions in this game that you particularly want to ask, or it might not have come up yet, and you just chomping at the bit to ask this question, to want to know this thing. So this is an opportunity to make up your own question and ask. And then again, you don't have to answer if you protect yourself. Maybe it's too early. Maybe this is something you don't want to go. Maybe they ask you something like, have you ever been molested or something? Maybe that's a question that you don't want to ask at this particular time. So protect yourself. Are you more than likely to have an idea? You are more than likely to have an idea of how your last relationship ended. What makes you believe the next one won't be the same old song? So this kind of speaks to the fact that if your relationship is ending the same way every time, maybe it's not the other person. Maybe it's you. Maybe not that you're a bad or whatever, but maybe your vetting of the relationship is not the best. So due diligence and responsible mate selection is something that we teach in Qualified to Love. There's a vetting process. So you may be choosing the same people, women in particularly, or I guess it could be men just as equally, that say all men ain't this and all women, they having the same experience over and over again. Even though there's so many different type of people, it may be that you are choosing the wrong type of person for the wrong reasons. And join us on Facebook, Qualified the number 2 Love, Qualified to Love, the Love Shop. And we talk about these things. You can go to qualifiedtolove.org, the number 2, remember, qualifiedtolove.org, and you can get all the links there. Hit me an email up there as well. We have shows on this channel. If you see, we cover a number of different subjects. Pretty well produced, if I do say so myself. All right, so this is Dr. Deja Moore giving some advice. Have you gotten your idea of romance? Lord, I just be reading and stuff. Have you gotten your idea of romance from Hollywood images and romance novels? It is important to do some traditional romantic things. However, it is more important to be in a moment, and as opposed to only acting romantic, truly be romantic. I think this went more so with the what's the most romantic thing you ever done question. So, yeah, but that applies anyway. So this is a kind of a hot question that you don't have to answer, particularly if you're a little conservative. But for you freaks, you ain't gonna have no problem just answering it out. I like this. Name one of your favorite ways to be sexually pleased. Yeah, well, you're gonna get some interesting answers when you ask that. I hope you got some variety though, even if you like one or two favorites. Variety is good. Foreplay is good. Okay. Finish this statement. The one thing I feel strong about family life is. Now, this could be, even though it seemed like a simple question, this could be like a deal breaker or a deal maker. It's like, say you're looking for a traditional woman and she says, yeah, I just believe like my mother, my grandmother, I believe I should take care of my man. I want to have his meal ready when he come home. I want to be a homemaker. Say you want kids and she wants kids and da 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 da. Now say you want all that traditional stuff and she's like, well, I'm not really a traditional person. I don't even know how to cook. So, you might gotta make some money. So, either you gonna cook or you gonna be ordering some takeout, you know, you know, most of the time or whatever. And I don't want no kids and so on and so forth. So right there, this may be some deal breakers right off the bat. Hopefully you guys want the same thing and you can't pretend about it because it's gonna come up. You're gonna wait till you get all up in lovey dovey and new love bliss, and then you ain't gonna be able to pull out as simple as you should be. Finish this statement. The last person I loved gained the key to my heart by. Now this is, I don't know if you want to tell somebody the key to your heart, but I mean, I guess it could be basic. They showed me respect. They were patient. They listened to me. Um, we had a lot of things in common. Blah 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 blah. And hopefully, you're not giving a comment all the cheat codes to get to your heart. Again, you got to work on your. A lot of women think they got women's intuition. So, but how many of y'all been played by a player? And maybe your intuition, your red light flags, they go off, but you ignored them. So I'm digressing again. Finish this statement. If you were to ask my ex-boyfriend, girlfriend about me, one good thing they would say is, so yeah, like I never cheated on them. I'm a good lover. Um, I was reliable. You know what I'm saying? You might have did some dirt, but they would say, well, he did this or she did that, but one good thing I could say is this or that. So that's a good question. Now, this is a good one. The term single to most people means that they are not in a committed relationship or married. However, they still may be dating or even intimate. Are you? If so, to what extent? So you'll meet somebody and they're like, are you single? And they're like, yeah, I'm single. But they got some sneaky links. They got some exes that they sleep with every now and then. They got this situationship across town. But because I ain't married, I'm still single. And yeah, I'm kind of engaged. But then, we've been putting a wedding date off for so long. I don't consider myself engaged anymore. Or, we getting a divorce, but it ain't final yet. And yeah, we still live in the same house, but we date each other. I mean, we date other people. We only sleep together every Thursday. You know what I'm saying? So there's all kind of, you got to get the details. The devil's in the details. It matters. Get the details. And again, they might lie, but you got something to hold them responsible and accountable for. This is another showdown question. I am very opinionated person, so if you make a statement, you better be prepared to defend your position. So this used to be me to the utmost. Like you just can't say no willy-nilly stuff around me. I'm gonna challenge you. I've since learned to pick my battles. I don't need to just debate with you on everything because life is too short and everybody got their opinion. And I'm on this tip. There at least know the difference between empirical truths and objective truth. Like purple is a prettier color than yellow. That's an objective truth. There's no right or wrong answer to that. But if we're talking about empirical, gravity exists, the world is round, and you believe a flat Earth. I might have to challenge you on that. So thumbs up if you believe this. If this is kind of way you think. Thumbs down if that's not the way you think. You don't give a damn about what people. You got your own opinion. You don't care. Blah blah blah. You're gonna let them be them. So on and so forth. All right. So here we go with the acting thing. Put your acting on. If this was so, act if this. Let me slow down. Act as you really would under these circumstances. The situation is, you two have been married for 20 years. You've had your ups and downs, but both of you consider yourself happily married. You are having breakfast on one Sunday morning, and your 19-year-old son comes in and says, Mom, Dad, I'm gay. That's who your son is. And then he runs out the house before you can respond. So now, bam, man, you're the father. Woman, you're the mother. Act this out. Go. All right. So I know a dude, I ain't gonna say no names. He said if his son was gay, he gonna disown him. So this was, as the times change, that this more and more people are more liberal about this, and like, well, I just love them. I don't care who they choose to love. I just love them, and I would prefer because I want some grandkids or whatever. But I'm not gonna stop loving my person. Other people would disown them. So this is a question that could be a deal breaker potentially, or depending on how strong you feel about some things. Yeah. Okay, here go another nasty. This is nasty. This is for the nasty people. You're not nasty. You just natural. Anywho, so the favorite sexual position is, again, you don't have to ask. You don't have to answer this question. Let's move on quickly. This is a showdown question. Agree, thumbs up. Disagree, thumbs down. Or a hand in the middle. Flat, if you're on the fence. A man's relationship loyalty is about as good as his opportunity to cheat. Do you believe this? Do you believe that all men are dogs? Or do you believe that, no, it's up to the individual? There's a lot of loyal men. There's a lot of men that don't cheat. And on another note, or the same note, speaking to this subject, if you believe that all men are dogs, you might be attracting those dogs. You might not be able to attract a loyal guy. Because I will tell you, you can believe it or not, I never cheated on a girlfriend or when I was married, a wife. Never, ever. Even in the dating stage, I make myself loyal. This is not community D. I do not go around and spread my seed like I'm Johnny Appleseed. You know what I mean? So, there are some good guys out there. I'm single right now. You better check on me. Here we go. What is the view of the slow down, Ricardo Love. What is your view of the man's role in a family situation? Do you think he should be the sole provider, or do you favor a shared responsibility role where gender does not matter, even in childcare and cooking? So again, this is similar to the last question about family. What some people feel real strong about the particular roles of a man and a woman, and they want a woman and a man to do this. You got some women these days that even with all the equal rights and then black men and women, black women are actually out earning black men these days, right? And they still, some of them, not all. I'm speaking Ebonics on purpose if you didn't get it. Some of them think that the man is still supposed to pay all the bills, and he is less than a man if he do not pay all the bills. They want a 6-figure man, and if they making 6-figure, they want him to make more than him. And even if they making 6-figure, he making 6 figures, they want to keep all their money, and you the man, you supposed to pay all the bills. And only then I have some traditional, you don't deserve me to cook for you, you don't deserve to be the leader unless you earn more than me and you pay all the bills. And then the other people are more liberal. They like, and I think this is most people these days, like, hey, if this is hard out here, we're in California, New York, some places, expensive places, it takes 2 salaries to do this, so on and so forth. So we're going to share the bills because that's what we got to do just from a practical standpoint. We're going to share child raising, like, hey, you might have to pick up the child from the child care, or they might have a day off or whatever, and you're going to have to stay, and you work out at home, so you're going to have to, you work graveyard, you're going to have to take care of, you're the man, but you're going to take care of the child, sometimes more than the woman. You're going to change these diapers, you're going to cook, when I'm coming home late and whatever, you might not be the primary, but you're going to help me out with this. You know what I mean? Nah, I'm saying. So you got to discuss these things. All right, here's one of the political questions. What is your basic political views? Do you think it's important for your mate to share these similar views? Now, can you allow them to have their views and you be like, well, that's how he believe. I still love him, or just like that just turns you off, like they're a Trump supporter, or maybe they are conspiracy theorists and they think that you was in the military, career military, and you believe in this country and you believe we built and you got patriotic, and they be like, this is the most wickedest country in the world and they did this and the CIA assassinated this and they're trying to kill us and da 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 and on and on. Can you allow that difference of opinion? Y'all just don't talk about it, or just kind of like that's kind of a deal breaker for you? All right, here another showdown question. I don't see myself with someone who does not know or care about what's going on in the community and world affairs. If you agree with this is how you think, thumbs up. If you disagree, thumbs down. If you're on this fence, hand out like a straight. So for me, like this used to be really, really strong. It's a little less strong now, but I kind of believe the same way. I just not so hardcore on it. Like if you didn't care about the community, particularly the black community, you didn't care about the world in general being a better place. If you were just all about selfishness and so on and so forth, you didn't care about our black community and so on and so forth. If you wasn't down, for certain collective beneficial things for the black people, I just couldn't be with you. You know what I mean? I still kind of feel that way, but you don't have to be a hardcore activist like I used to want my mate to be. So let's move on. How important is it for you to share the same cultural belief systems? Example, and it's kind of what I was just talking about: Afrocentric versus right-wing conservative, or urban versus Southern. Like, if you was raised in the South, you got some traditional values, and you believe you raise your kids to say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am. Certain things with urban, you might not be with that. You was raised in the city, you might think a little different about something. Some people are real Afrocentric versus a real white-wing conservative. Maybe they was raised in a white neighborhood, and So how important that is to you? Can you just like have these difference of opinions and stuff, and still let it be about love, or is that going to be real important? So again, we're talking about compatibility things and how they come up and how they affect the relationship. Sometimes love is not enough in the shallow sense. Now I can get into why love is always enough and how love never hurts, but that's going into the deeper way if you operating in love. So, but just I'm attracted to you. I got this feeling for you is sometimes not enough. In a relationship, you have to have certain compatibility things culturally, beliefs wise, and so on and so forth. So here's another question on that tip. How important is it for you for your mate to have some spiritual beliefs as you, the same spiritual beliefs as you? How much difference is acceptable? For some Christians, you got to know Jesus as your personal Lord and Savior. How you going to lead me if you ain't being led by God? I mean, they really believe this. This is a deal breaker for them. But okay, y'all got married, so y'all was on the same belief. What if they leave their faith? Is that you gonna divorce them? You know what I mean? What if they change religions in the middle of the relationship? If you're the Nation of Islam, I think it's you need your sister to be in NOI. Is it FOI? I can't remember. But anywho, so on and so forth. Like some people are into African spirituality, they or some kind of moon circles and crystals and so on and so forth. And some people, like some fundamentalist Christians, think that that's kind of witchcraft and stuff. So they were like, ah. So even if you do have some difference of opinion about this, can you work this stuff out? Can you respect each other's differences in this matter? This is very important. Let's move on. Do you think you are vain? Would your friends and family agree with this answer? Hmm. It might be how long you spend in the mirror every morning, how you can't go out even to the grocery store unless you look in a certain way, da 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 da. What's your reason for wanting to look a certain way? Is it really just an expression of self um, expression, you know, or is it kind of a deficiency to making up for a deficiency? It could go either way. And you got to know yourself, and you got to ask yourself the reason why, that you need to dress away and look away and present yourself a certain way. And hopefully it's from coming from a healthy place and not as a compensation for making up for another deficit. All right, let's move on. Showdown statement. I think there are tactful and intelligent ways to disagree on almost every relationship issue, but I must admit, I usually don't use one. So this is this is like you're intellectual and you think you understand fair fighting and you understand that you're supposed to not agree, but sometimes you just snap because you get emotional. So if you agree with this, it's just kind of like your personality. Thumbs up. If you disagree, thumbs down. If you're on the fence about it, uh, your hand in the middle. I wish I had a camera here. Next time I'll put a camera so you can see my ugly mug. And I'm not ugly. I'm kind of cute still. Not as cute as I used to be, but hey, I'm not that bad. I'm pretty handsome to some people. All right, let's move on. Name one quality that your father had that you want to imitate or eliminate in yourself or your mate. Now, this could speak to your childhood wounds or to your childhood modeling. If you had a strong father figure in your life, I did not, but I adopted my best friend's father. I was over there all the time, and I looked at him for things that I wanted to imitate in my own life. So in my father's life, what I want to eliminate is I know I want to be there for my kids. I don't want to disappear for years at a time, and they don't know they're crying and so on and so forth because they don't know where I am. So this could be a really deep question depending on how deep you want to get into what's going on with you, and your relationship with your father. Father wound or father, nurtured you, whatever. Okay, this is a seemingly shallow question, but it can get deep. Do you like sports? Do you play sports? If yes, it's important for your mate to partake in your interest in sports. For some men and now a lot of women, like when certain season is on, man, when this my game is on, you gotta respect that. You gotta give me my my space. I prefer that you actually join me in this, or maybe not. Maybe I want just to be me and the boys or whatever. I don't know. But you got a lot of even women, and when the playoffs is on, I need to be in front of this TV and we dressing up, Maybe they was doing this with their last boyfriend and you ain't with it. They got their jerseys and they maybe had opposing teams and it was a little fun thing that they did and they invited people over for the game and this and that. And you not with that, you're like, I don't really like sports. So that could be, even though it's a really shallow thing, it could be, or they play golf or tennis and they would like you to participate in that, or at least understand, hey, I got tea time, give me that time. Don't, feel like I can't do what I used to do. I play ball with the boys, basketball or, whatever it is. All right. So I'm not going to go through the whole questions. You can get the game I'm going to go over a few more questions and then I'm going to end this live. You can get the full game at qualifiedtolove.org. You see the links there. And you can see some other things. Also, you could buy the game directly. The Getting to Know You experience, the game that's not a game, it's a compatibility game. That's what we're looking at right now at Payhip, PAYHIP.com/qualified to love. The two is with a T. The two is a number two, numero dos. Qualified to love. Payhip / qualified to love. You can get that for what? What? How much money did that cost, Mr. Love? Only $2. $2. Send me an email. I'll send you one for free if you really want it. Because I really want you to be compatible. I really want us to have good relationships, whole, effective, functional, loving, passionate, and most importantly, like I said, whole relationships. This is very vital. This is very important. Do you have any hairstyle types? Do you have any hairstyle types, color, or limb preferences in a mate? Some women like bald head men now. Some women, if you got locks, they like, that's some shit locks. Excuse my language. I don't like that. Or they love that. That's just attractive. So the same hairstyle on one person can be an absolute turn off and a absolute turn on to somebody else. I think the most important thing is that if it's well groomed. So no matter what you choose to have, if you're well groomed, you wear well, you wear with confidence. Um, these are some male pictures here, but let's put that a question to the female. As you're a man, do you care if she wears a weave or wigs a lot? Do you care if she chops it all off and have short hair? You prefer long hair. Is that a deal breaker, or is it just some little, superficial thing that really doesn't matter as much? Got to talk about it. Got to think about it. How do you feel men in your life have influenced your views on relationship? So this kind of goes back to the fatherhood thing, but it also could go to your uncle, your cousins. If you're a woman and you've seen all your uncles and your dad and your cousins, your male cousins, is all players, and you've seen them all, give up game. They're trying to protect you from getting played, but they are cheating on women, and they are lying to women, and they are just looked at women as, sexual objects. Or it could be the opposite. You've seen loving relationships, and your grandfather and grandmother still together, your mother and father still together, your sisters and brothers had earned marriages, and everybody's having good relationships. You go into a church, and there's models of good relationships. There are mosques, and there's good relationships in there. So it could go either way. It could go, you've seen terrible relationships, but and that motivates you to actually be the opposite. So, or you had really good relationships and you're a dog, and there's the human brain and psychology is very interesting. It could go either way. But what's important is that you gain these insights yourself, and you seen what's going on. Hey, Bap, she on YouTube. I'm Bap Shay, I guess that is. This is new right here. We're gonna be doing this from time to time, trying it out. Hopefully, we can get this game popular, and we could get some people that's learning some things and growing and having whole relationships. So I'm going to read just a couple more, and then I'm going to sign off. And you can go. I'm not going to erase this. Even though this was a live, you can go back and see the replay. Back to the village model. You can draw positive male images from anyone in the greater Black community, not just the immediate family. Even a negative image can inspire you on what or what not to do. God allows both light and darkness for us to grow. And that's kind of what I was speaking to. You can be inspired by the good men, and that were modeling what it was supposed to be a good man. And you can, use the example of the players and immature people to, like, that's what you don't want. All right, here's one of them nasty for them nasty folks. Questions and you. No, y'all ain't nasty. It's natural. How often do you like having sex in an intimate relationship? Are there different factors that determine that, or are you pretty consistent with your sex drive? Now, this is important to be honest about, and it's a trip because it can change. Like, typically in the beginning of a relationship, y'all want to have sex more often, and then as time goes on, you get used to each other. Maybe as children enter the thing, in different work situations come up, you don't have sex as often. I think it's very important that you, even though it's not the most romantic thing right off, for you to schedule some time together. It doesn't necessarily have to be sex, but it be intimate. That you be responsible to each other. I don't believe in the concept that if you don't give them none or she don't give you none, then you're gonna go cheat. You know what I'm saying? That's not a reason, but it does bring that temptation high if you're not pleasing each other, and you have to be very open with what you need in a relationship, and what your needs are, and it can be exploring each other's thing, because what you did for the last relationship might not be. She wanted it hard and fast. She wanted you to choke her. And the new one might want you to be soft and gentle and go slow stroke, and what I mean, just be caress gentle, and like just like y'all. The last one just wanted you to throw her over the camp table and just like act like you raping her, and that turned her on. But that might not be what's gonna turn on the next one. You know what I mean? So you guys got to talk about this. You got to understand each other's needs and desires, and then help each other out on that. All right, last question. Name one personality trait that your mother had that you want to imitate or eliminate. So women, how was you and your mother's relationship? How was her relationship with men? And what did you see modeled? Did she talk back? Did she tell you, don't let no man, don't do, you gonna do for yourself, don't depend on no man? Did she have bitterness, or did she have hope for you that you would find somebody in a relationship and have a whole thing? Or does she give you some negativity about that? So, how much of your mother do you see in yourself now? These are all questions that you have to ask. Like I said, you're either going to imitate it, or you're going to be like, nah, I'm not going to be like mama. I love my mother, but she was kind of harsh on some of the men. I grew up in a generation where a child is to be seen, not heard. But I was a baby, so by the time I came along, things were changing and whatever. And so I spoke up to my mother. I'm like, Mom, you can't, be just fussing at him all the time. You can't be like just, what I'm saying, so hardcore. I used to stand up for my stepfather, like Mr. Johnny Nero, rest in peace, brother. Yeah, my mom was hardcore with him. And maybe she had reason that I didn't know about, but good Lord, mama, let the man have some peace. I didn't see him doing nothing too bad. Anywho, okay, so again, this game goes on and on with these different questions, and you might not even get through all of the questions and the scenarios, and but pretty early on, you're gonna start to see some compatibility things that that come up, that you either want to like, oh, I really think that we could work this out, or I don't think this person is for me. You know what I mean? And it's better that you know sooner than later, and not that you judge too harshly or you judge the question. But like Maya Angelou said, when somebody tells you who they are or shows you who they are, believe it. So I changed this to qualifiedtolove.org. So I need to go ahead and change that slide in there. Then we have a disclosure list. Like, this is some hardcore stuff right here. So I'm gonna read some of these questions. These are stuff that you don't want to ask, but man, you gotta know. Depending when you get. This ain't maybe not a first date question, but it could be. Why not learn sooner than later? You know what I mean? So, do you have any drug or addiction problems, or are you in recovery? Has it been 10 days or 10 years? You know what I mean? Do you have any gambling addictions? Do you have any mental health or conditions that will require mandatory psychotherapy? Um, do you have any children under 18 that you are financially liable for by court order or other arrangements? These are things, like you say, well, this is my business. But when you get in a relationship, these things actually, they're going to, your problems become my problems. Your issues become my issues because we are intertwined. We might share a house if we're getting married, or maybe not if you want shack up. But it's still, even if you got your own place and your own finances and your own this and your own that, whatever's going on in your life, if I care about you and we're in a relationship, it's gonna affect me, and my situation is gonna affect you. So it's full disclosure is a must. You know what I mean? Let me zoom in. You see some of these questions. Yeah, some deep stuff on here, but these are some hardcore questions that you probably need to ask and need to know. All right, so thank you for tuning in, whether you tune in live or you tuned in on the replay. I'm going to leave this live posted. This is the first time I've done this. And next time I'll be on camera so you can see me. Maybe we'll figure out a way for you to join us on Streamlabs. And yeah, you could chime in too. All right. Peace, blessings, and love. I'm going to sign out. This is Ricardo Love for Qualified to Love. Join us on Facebook at Qualified to Love. Love Shop. And the 2 is with the number 2.